3HL 104.5 The Zone, broadcasting live from Radio Row at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. This property is massive.
Humongous.
They have casinos and restaurants and, space for us to do our show. Our thanks to Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, among others. You can check all the information out, 1045thezone.com. Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, and Ron Slay. Mark Schlereth joins us at the table. Mark, what's up? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How you guys doing?
Doing well. So you do morning radio, which means what for local time? Because before you say that, I was talking to Sean Pendergast from Houston. They're on 4 a.m. local time on the air.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. I see them in here every morning when I walk in. No. I mean, I walk over here. I'm over at the MGM, so I walk over here. It's about a mile, I guess, maybe a little short of a mile. It's about a half a mile just when you walk into the front door of Mandalay Bay to get to here.
Well, it's hard to walk in Vegas too. You see weird things.
Yeah, there's no question. But I roll out of there at 4:00 in the morning. But I'm the Jason Bourne of pooping, so I got to make sure my schedule is right. So I got about a 7-minute warning if I got to take a dump. So I got to hit the bathroom before I leave the MGM, and then make sure I've got that 20 minutes within here to get back over to here.
Is that why they call you Stink?
Yeah, that's not why. But they called me Stink because I used to piss my pants during games.
Really? Why? Nerves?
No, just
just something to do.
You got to go. You just got to
You just didn't care, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I just didn't care. So
you got time to be looking for no blue tent.
Well, see, here's what ended up happening. So actually, the nickname Stink actually comes from rotten fish heads in Alaska. So when I was growing up in Alaska, I grew up in Anchorage, but my sister went and taught at Eskimo Village in Alaska. And it was Akiachuk, Alaska, on the Kuskokwim River, if you can say that twice.
Wow.
Kuskokwim River, Akiachuk, Alaska. And the first run of salmon, the natives would dip net in the Kuskokwim River and pull out thousands of salmon. And so then they would cut the heads of the salmon off. They would bury them in a pit that they would dig. It'd just cover them with dirt. And then they would uncover them weeks later, and they would eat rotten fish heads.
What?
And they call them stink heads. And it was like a village tradition. And so it was rotten. So
So you don't get sick from that?
Well, you would die from that.
Probably.
All of us would probably die. But it was part of what they've done for forever, for generations and generations. Right. So to them, it was whatever it was what they did. So anyhow, so I initially got the nickname Stinkhead. So that's how the nickname became. It got shortened to Stink. But how it kind of perpetuated over the years is in 1990, I'm playing a preseason game. We're playing the Cleveland Browns. I'm with the Washington Redskins, and I am the youngest starter. I'm my second year in the league, and I'm the youngest starter. So I'm on the Hogs, but I've got to be the guy that backs up both guard positions and the center if somebody gets hurt. So I'm in the fourth quarter, and I have got to piss. I have got to piss like a race dog. And so I'm on the bench, and I'm like, God, I got to go. And all the guys are going, well, just go in the locker room. I can't go in the locker room. I'm first guy up, right? So I'm sitting on this bench. We're in this bench, and, it's crowd, and it's a hot, sultry night. And I literally just empty my bladder. It's coming off, out of my uniform, off the bench, off the metal bench.
So white pants?
No, we were in red pants, white jerseys.
That's good.
So all the dudes were all like Bostic and Riley McKenzie and Simmons are like, you got to be kidding me, dude. It's draining off the bench, and I am laughing my ass off. And literally, I get done, and you know how you kind of shake it off? You got I'm shaking it off on the bench, and literally they're like they call my name, you're up. A guy got hurt, a rookie got hurt that was playing center.
Oh.
And so I jump up, I grab my helmet, I run to the sideline, and there's like a TV timeout because the guy injury timeout, and Stan Humphries was a backup quarterback for us. And so he comes to the sideline, goes, let me get a warm-up snap. And so as a center, the quarterback never gets under you all the way until he's ready for the snap. It's almost like a form of foreplay. He puts a hand on your low back, one on your ass cheek, right? And he goes through the cadence. He goes, blue 80, blue 80. And then he puts his hands in. Sit out. I snapped the ball, and it just like, bam, splash. He's like, oh. He's like, oh. He goes, somebody get a towel. He's really wet. I've got sweat in my eyes. And I'm like, that ain't sweat in your eyes. That is straight up urine. So that's
some drainage.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So Matt Hasselbeck told us a story that he had a center in Washington that had diarrhea.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't hold it, did it, and he went shotgun.
Go.
And the coaching staff didn't understand, why are you going shotgun every play? He's like, I'm not going under center.
Go back, watch Brady in Tampa Bay, and his center at the time, great dude, but his center, like, I wasn't a real sweaty guy, but I made up for it with urine. But I wasn't really sweaty.
It's sticky, though. It helps with the ball.
Well, yeah, right. But with the really sweaty guys, so the quarterbacks hate it, right? Because you got just nothing but ass sweat. So go back and watch Tom Brady and when he was playing there, his center. God, what Ryan? Anyhow,
not Jensen, was it?
Yeah, Ryan Jensen.
Yeah.
Watch Ryan Jensen. He's got more towels packed around his groin and his ass. He had all kinds of towels. So Brady would make him wear a bunch of towels like a diaper.
Yeah.
So that the sweat wouldn't go through. So when he got under center, his hands wouldn't get wet with sweat. Wow. So if you go back and look at the film, you can see funny. how many towels are packed around this guy's package.
That's hilarious.
Mark Schlereth with us on 3HO, NFL on Fox. You catch him on the radio in Denver.
This has been a hell of a conversation already,
beautiful.
By the way.
Yeah.
Questioning my life decisions right now. No.
Well, you get to sit next to Stink.
I know, right? I'm like, that's only on the football field, right, Stink?
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about this game, right? Sunday, and what you expect. The talk here is don't ever bet against Pat Mahomes, which Slay has learned the last 2 weeks because he bet against him. But what is your take on the matchup and what's going to be the biggest key in this game?
Well, I mean, you look at it. San Francisco's been probably the best team all season long up until the last 2 games in the playoffs. I think they've been horrible. I think defensively they've been embarrassed.
Yeah.
And that was a defensive rotation on the front seven, especially their defensive line, that is good as it gets, and were dominant. And the last 2 weeks, they've gotten their asses kicked in the run game. Yeah. They have not controlled the edge of the defense. Both teams, both Green Bay and Detroit, have captured the edge, captured the perimeter of the defense. They've run it down the middle. I just think they've been awful, and that is very concerning for me. And then offensively, I always felt like this as a player. If I'm going to get my ass kicked, I'm going to get my ass kicked doing what I do. Like I'm going to lean in what do I do? And I love, and I talk about it all the time, having an identity, knowing what you are, knowing on 3rd down and 1 or 2nd down and 1, this is what we call, this is what we do, understanding what you are. And I think it's an important just life lesson in general. And I think San Francisco has completely gotten away from what they do. They are not a great drop back team. They are not hey, let's get in 3 wides and let's get in a static formation and let's run gun empty. And that's not what they do. And they're not the greatest of route runners and all those things. So for me, I look at kind of what they're doing right now. They have got to get back to, they are the best run football team in creating angles, using motions and shifts to create angles, and then tying and marrying their run game to their play action game. That's where they just beat everybody down. And they're so good at that. And the last 2 weeks they haven't done that. Now, some of that is because they got down early.
Right.
They had 1 possession against Green Bay, and then you start to feel like, oh gosh, now we got to throw our way back into this thing. But the big key for me is they are going to have to do what they do. If they can do that, control the tempo, eliminate maybe 2-3 possessions from Kansas City, then I think they win the game. But there's a lot of big ifs in there, and part of it is because, I've known Kyle Shanahan since he was 12 years old. I've known McCaffrey since he was 2. I played with Eddie McCaffrey, and obviously Mike Shanahan was my coach in Denver for 6 years. So, I mean, Kyle was running routes, as a high school kid with Ed McCaffrey and Rod Smith, and he was always over there. And matter of fact, Kyle Shanahan was the last person in Super Bowl history to hold the head coach's cord. So the last Super Bowl, I think it was Super Bowl 33, he held Mike's cord from his headsets, and then they went to wireless the next year. And so he's the last guy to hold the cord in the Super Bowl. Now he's coaching the Niners and trying to get a Super Bowl championship.
Yeah. What an amazing tidbit right there. Right? Mark, like that should be a trivia question.
Dope. Right.
Yeah. Mark Schlereth with us on 3HL.
Mark, I got to ask you about low T, man, and just what it does. What's your feeling like after playing and being able to, you already said when your feet hit the ground, you're gone. And you're rolling through. How has low T also assisted in that as well?
Well, you know what? It's interesting because most of the guys that play, you have so much trauma to your body. Yeah. Your body stops as you retire, stops producing testosterone. Yep. So I had such unbelievably low numbers once I retired, about 8-10 years after I retired. But really one of the cool things is every day, every time you go in there every week, you're taking your blood pressure, you're taking a bunch of vital numbers. I'm giving blood once every 3 months and kind of monitoring because we're guys, like we don't take care of ourselves. Right. We never would. Right. You just like, something's bothering me. Well, I'll have it, it'll go away eventually. Yeah. Well, I went in one day and my resting heart rate is normally in the low 60s and my resting heart rate was 99. Huh. And they said, hey man, something's wrong. You gotta go have this looked at. And, I made an appointment with my doctor and I found out I had AFib. And it just happened it was almost like an overnight thing. All of a sudden I developed AFib. And, you're 6 times more likely to have a stroke if you have AFib. And so I ended up having to get on medication. Then I ended up having a heart surgery to fix it. But I'd never known had I not been going in all the time. So it's one of those things about taking care, knowing your numbers, taking care of your heart, taking care of your body, taking care of your health as a guy because – like I always say, if it wasn't for my wife, I'd be dead because she makes me go do stuff. And, I can't stand it, but, she's right. It bothers me.
You hit it on the head, man. I did the same thing. Like, I was on the border of being diabetic.
Yeah.
And was in there getting my numbers and stuff checked. And it was like, hey, you may want to change up. And I changed up my dad and, did everything.
Lost 60 pounds.
Lost 60 pounds,
yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was cool, man. Low T Centers really helped me. So, yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah.
So we're in Nashville, right?
Uh-huh.
Titans.
Sure.
So let's hit on them a little bit. Do you think Will Levis is the guy?
I did a Titans game. I did your guys' game against Carolina, and the thing on tape. I'm telling you what, fearless, athletic, and flat out can spin it.
Yeah.
So I look at all those things, and all those things translate well, right? So that's all the tangible stuff. And so from a tangible standpoint, I would look at Will Levis and say, freaking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like phenomenal from a tangible skill set. Now, there's a lot more that goes into being a really good player, right?
Yep.
It's the nuance of the game that really sets you apart. It's your ability to read progressions and get through your progressions quickly. It's your ability to be a stickler for the boring. And I was talking to Bruce Arians when he was coaching Tom Brady. I said, what sets him apart? And he said, Tom Brady, if you're running a curl flat or you're running a flats to first progression in your read, and it's open, Tom Brady's going to take it 100 out of 100 times, even though it's a 4 or 5 yard gain. Why? Because it keeps us in front of the chains. It keeps our offense open. It keeps us on schedule. It's what it does. And so, that's the next level of how do you get through that stuff? How do you become good at managing a game, knowing when to take your chances, when to go deep, when to –
because he'll take his chances.
And I'm telling you, he throws a great ball, throws a great deep ball. I was just on film. I was just really impressed with him.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know. I mean, I talked to him obviously as I got ready to do the game, but all that other stuff, the way all that stuff comes together, that comes through playing and repetition and doing that stuff. But the tangible stuff is definitely there.
And that's what I was going to ask you next. Do you think a guy like that could develop Will Levis with all those intangibles by having a guy like Derrick Henry who carries a load like that? Or is that one of those we got to separate so he can come into his own and be his
No. I think it's imperative. I think it's imperative as a play caller to take as much pressure off that quarterback as you possibly can in growing that guy. And also, it's a matter of putting it all together and giving that guy an opportunity to be successful. As you know, it's not just calling plays, but it's calling an offense.
Yeah.
And those are the things that you have to be able to do to have success, and really understanding what everybody's issues are and how you grow an offense and in turn grow your quarterback. So there's a lot of things you look at, like, you know, I called a bunch of Washington games this year, and like what Bieniemy ended up doing to Howell, taking 65 sacks or what, 76.
Yeah.
Like, it's you can't do that. I always say this. If you give up 7 sacks in a game, it's not your offensive line that sucks. It's your play caller that sucks.
Put them in that spot.
You put them in that spot. You don't give them a chance to what I call taking the passive out of pass protection, to change up sets, to be able to change up offenses, to throw enough short passing game, throw enough quick game, throw enough screen game to really set that up so that those guys up front can be aggressive. So those guys up front can take the battle to the defense.
Yeah.
And that's all part of how the play calling works in unison and how we grow as an offense, not just the quarterback, but all of us together.
Okay, Stink, though.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Titans' offensive line this year?
Yeah, they weren't good, but but
I mean,
I'm telling you, a lot of what makes them not good is the way you call plays.
Yeah.
And so you can take.
That's interesting.
Like
Tim Kelly,
That's
man.
what Savage said. Ramon Foster said the same thing.
Let me tell you, and here's the deal. I mean, playing offensive line is the most skilled position in football, bar none. Because, you know, collectively we're the worst athletes on the football field. And think about this. I'm supposed to block you 65 times in a row. If I miss once and give up a sack, I suck and you go to the Pro Bowl. That's how it works. So you think about, I've watched corners transition to safety, safety transition to linebacker transition to DN, DN transition to D tackle. I've watched D tackles transition to offensive linemen. You know what the transition from offensive line is? It's fan. There's nowhere else to go. You're the worst athletes on the team in
or
general.
Radio guy or
right,
whatever.
but think about it from the standpoint of, show me one other position, one other matchup in sports, regardless of what the sport is, where a worse athlete lines up against a better athlete 100% of the time, and yet the worst athlete is expected to win 100% of the matchups. So I'll give you, for instance.
Great point.
I'll give you, for instance. Think about this: if your center in basketball gets tied up with a 6'2" guard who takes him to the rim, dribbles right by him, lays it up, you don't go, man, that center sucks. We need to cut him. That center is awful. We got to pull him out of the game. No, you got a great matchup. A better athlete got to the rim. It's the way it works. But the offensive line is the only position in sport, like safeties line up against tight ends, right? You don't have a heavyweight against a welterweight.
Right.
You don't do that.
Right.
But that's the way athletically it matches up in the NFL. So that's why the nuance and the play calling becomes so damn important. If you're going to be good as a group, you have to have a great play caller who understands your issues.
Well, hopefully the Titans' new head coach is a great play caller. We'll find out. But the other thing, just on the way out, I wanted to ask you, obviously, Brian Callahan, the head coach, is bringing his dad to coach offensive line. How much of a difference can Bill make?
Huge.
Yeah.
I was texting with Bill the other day. I have so much respect for him as an offensive line coach. So much respect for not only the job he does, but let me tell you, if the plays aren't coming in the way he wants them to come in, if they're not taking the pressure off those guys, Bill Callahan will get in somebody's ass.
Yeah.
It's going to be his son.
Right. Yep. He's going to get his son's ass.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of when my son, when I was spoiling my grandkids, and I gave them some candy after my son said no, and he got really mad at me. He said, "Dad, come here. And he goes, "You're circumventing my authority." And I said, "I don't give a crap. I'm in charge of you. I can do whatever the hell I want to do." Get out of here, kid. Like, what are you going to do? I'm bigger than you.
Mark Schlereth on 3HL.
That is great.
Hey, real quick, growing up in Alaska with all the dark time and all those hours, like we all have trouble as adolescents anyway. Like, did that contribute? And how do you envision yourself growing up as an NFL player coming out of Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah, well, why'd you think I had kids at 19? Boom, a lot of darkness.
Turn out the lights, baby. Turn out the lights.
Hey, she's only human. You know what I'm talking about? She couldn't resist. No, I loved it, man. When you don't know any better, right? You grow up. It's light all summer long. You know, it's great in the summertime. In the wintertime, it's dark. You gotta find something to do.
So you did.
Yeah. This is supposed to be in the boom boom room.
I was going to say, this is a boom boom room conversation right here.
I love it.
Mark Schlereth, NFL on Fox. Hey, thanks for the time, brother.
Absolutely. Pleasure, guys. Take care.
More 3HL next on 104.5 The Zone.